Okay friends, before we get started, let's talk safety, hands and eyes. With that said, go ahead and raise and support the vehicle and remove your lug nuts, then remove the wheel. So now that the wheel's off, we have a nice clear view of our brakes. This is your caliper slider bolt here and one up there. Remove the pair. As you can see, the slider itself is turning. You're probably going to need to hold that with something such as pliers. There's one. Do the same to the other. There we are. Let's go ahead and remove that caliper. It's a good idea to inspect it. Make sure you don't see any fluid. This looks good. Let's set it aside. Let's go ahead and remove the pads. Looking at the caliper bracket, you're going to be able to see the two mounting bolts. Use your 18mm, remove the pair. There's one bolt. Let's go ahead and start it in just a couple threads and remove the other. Remove your bracket, set it aside. Next, we're going to use some cutters and we're going to take off these two little tabs right there. They basically just kind of hold the rotor from falling off. Let's remove the rotor. For our next step, we're going to need a nice collection bucket. We're going to put it down underneath here and we're going to clean down the emergency brake apparatus. Come down along here. Right down there is where your adjustment is. We're going to need to work with that, so we want to make sure it's nice and clean. The next thing I like to do is take a nice pry bar on the back side and I'm going to press up against this. As you press, you want to look at the forward side and make sure that this can pivot freely. If it seems like it's seizing up or it doesn't want to move at all, you need to take it apart and free that up. Right down here is your adjuster. You want to make sure that that can move. I like to spray them down with some penetrant right along here. That's the adjustment area. Then right here is another area that it pivots. Let's go ahead and spray down this area with a little bit of penetrant. Clean down this area where the rotor's going to ride. So I got in between all the studs and the hub area there. Now we're just going to put on a little bit of copper never seize to help make sure that the rotor comes off fairly easily down the line. Perfect. Let's take a look at our brand new rotor. We're going to of course clean it down before we go ahead and install it. A little bit of parts cleaner, nice clean rag. Get your braking surfaces. And right down along in here is where your emergency brake shoes are going to ride. I like to clean that down as well. Now this part we're going to have to talk about for a second. When we put the rotor on, what we want to try to do is activate the emergency brake, which you can do with the pry bar from the backside, and you want to try to make sure that the emergency brake is going to be able to hold the rotor from being able to spin. If it doesn't, you need to go ahead and pull off the rotor, come under here to where your adjuster is, and turn this so it expands the shoes out just a tiny bit and retry. You want to continue doing that back and forth until you find the perfect amount of pressure for your emergency brake shoes. Okay. So pretty much right where it was at for me, worked perfectly, because I can put just a teeny bit of pressure and then that kind of keeps it, and if I put a little bit more, then it really holds it. So that tells me that I don't need to remove this and readjust that, but if you do, it's very easy. Like I said, just pull it back off, adjust it a tiny bit, and then go ahead and put it back on and try again. Something that I like to mention is once you have it so it's adjusted, you want to make sure that you can turn it and you hear a tiny bit of drag, and that's it. You definitely don't want anything that makes it feel like you have to put any force without having the emergency brake on. Alright, so we made our way over to the bench because I wanted to talk about cleaning up this caliper bracket here. We're going to take it apart first. What I mean by that is to come in between here and remove the tins. We're going to set those aside for recycling, so we've got some nice new ones. After that, if you were to grab onto this area right here, this is considered your slider. Go ahead and pull that out. Same thing with the other one. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and wipe these down. Just like that, and we're going to inspect them. You want to make sure that you don't see any rust pits, large rust flakes, and you definitely don't want to see anything up inside the groove, up along right here, because that's where the boot's going to ride, so you want to make sure it's as clean as possible. Okay, now over a nice collection bucket, let's put a little bit of parts cleaner inside here and let it sit for a second. If you happen to have a bore brush, go ahead and give it a little whirl inside there. Let's empty these out. Oh yeah. So that's going to get out all the debris or even leftover grease that might be left inside there. We'll let that continue drying. Set this aside. Now we need to clean up this area right here, which is the area that the tins are going to ride. If you don't clean this up, there's a possibility the pads could be stuck inside the brackets, and that's of course going to cause an issue. All right, so I've got all four corners here nice and cleaned up, as you can tell. Those look great. Let's use a little bit of caliper grease along those areas. Now it's going to be time to install our tins. This is the back side. You can see it's got two little ears that face towards the center. And then the other side has the two ears that are going to spread those pads apart. Go ahead and put the ears so they're inside the center of the bracket there. Lock it in. Same thing on the other one. Perfect. That looks good. They're definitely not falling off. Just going to put a little bit of grease along the boot right there. Now that we have that done, let's go ahead and grease these slider pins here. Go all up and down the entire shaft there. Make sure you put on plenty of grease. Doesn't cost you anything, so why not? There we are. Make sure you get up along the lip right there where the boot's going to ride. It's going to help keep moisture out of there. Keep these functioning good for a long time. Go ahead and start it into the hole. As you press in, you're going to hear air come out, and give it a nice twist. That's good. That settles in the grease. Do the same to the other side. Okay, at this point we have our caliper bracket cleaned and prepped. This looks amazing. Let's get back over to the vehicle. Before we can go any further, let's go ahead and clean down the threads on our bolts. We want to make sure there isn't any more thread locker on there, and then we're going to replace it with some of our own. So we cleaned up our bolts. I put on a little bit of red thread locker because that's how I roll. We're going to go ahead and take the bracket here, start in bolt the bolts, and then we'll snug them up and torque them to manufacturer specifications. All right, let's torque these to 148 foot-pounds. Now it's going to be time to put our pads on. Something that I want you to pay attention to is this right here. This is called a wear indicator. You want that on the inner pad, and you want it facing up. There we are. The outer pad should not have a wear indicator on it. Perfect. The pads move around inside the brackets. That tells me that I cleaned up the brackets well. Now it's going to be time to push in the caliper piston. A lot of times people like to open up the bleeder screw. You just want to be careful not to break it, and you also want to be careful not to get any air in there. With that said, for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and push it back slowly without opening it. There we are. Now that we have the piston pushed in, let's go ahead and apply a little bit of caliper grease right along the piston right there. And then of course up on these ears right there. Basically the contact points where it connects with the pad. Let's go ahead and put on our caliper over those pads. Squeeze them in if you have to. There we are. Slider bolts, tiny bit of thread locker is a good idea. All right, snug them up, torque them to manufacturer specifications. Here we go, 38 foot-pounds. Let's get the wheel up on here. Start all your lug nuts, snug them up, and torque them to 140 foot-pounds. Here we go, torque them to 140. Torqued. And now, of course, the process would be the same for the other side of the vehicle. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do is go ahead and pump up your brake pedal so it's nice and firm. Aside from that, check your brake fluid right under here and take it for a road test. Of course, it's a great idea to make sure you check your parking brake as well. Make sure that that holds the vehicle while it's idling in drive, and maybe even a little bit of foot pressure on that gas pedal.